welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome. Tonight, I'm going to show you what happened when Rome made everything legal for 1 week. Every December, for 7 days, the laws against vice disappeared. Gambling, legal, prostitution, not just tolerated, but surging. The social hierarchy that kept slaves silent and citizens dignified, suspended. You could walk into a brothel in broad daylight and no one would blink. You could gamble away a year's salary and the courts couldn't touch you. You could buy a human being, wrap them in a ribbon, and hand them to a friend as a holiday gift. This was Saturnalia, the festival the church erased to make room for Christmas. I'll tell you one price, right now. 2 asses, the cost of bread, the cost of a woman in Rome's red light district. Same coin, bought either one. But that was the basement, the quick, anonymous transaction. For 15 asses, you got a private room, wine, and a woman who made you feel like she'd chosen you. For a few thousand sesterces, you could give a trained slave as a gift. And for the right price, you could buy something the Romans valued more than sex, the feeling that the rules didn't apply to you. Which raises the question we're really here to answer. What happens to a civilization that schedules its transgression? That says, for 7 days, anything goes, and then pretends to be virtuous, the other 51 weeks. The poets wrote it down, the graffiti survived, the prices are still legible, and some of those transactions, they're remarkably familiar. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You think you've never participated in scheduled transgression, but you've had the office Christmas party where things got said that wouldn't fly in March. You've spent money in December you'd never spend in July. You've used the calendar as permission. The difference between you and a Roman on December 18th is just honesty. They named the permission. We pretend it doesn't exist. You're a Roman citizen. Let's say you're 45, successful, respected. You've spent all year maintaining your dignitas, your reputation. You've worn the toga in the forum, conducted business with gravity, spoken with measured authority. For 11 months, you've been the man Rome expects you to be. But it's December 17th now, and the moment that priest uncovered his head at Saturn's temple, something in the city's atmosphere changed. You hear it first, the shout echoing through the streets. Io Saturnalia! It's not a greeting, it's a declaration. The rules just dissolved. You're wearing the synthesis now, not your toga. The synthesis is colorful, loose, comfortable. It's what you wear to dinner parties, not to the forum. But during Saturnalia, everyone wears the synthesis. The visual language of rank just disappeared. That senator who passed you in the street? You can't tell he's a senator. That slave? He's wearing the pileus, the freedman's cap, and for the next week, you're supposed to pretend he's your equal. Let's pause here. This costume change wasn't just about comfort. It was about anonymity. When everyone's dressed the same, when the markers of status are erased, you can move through the city without being recognized. You can go places a man of your standing wouldn't normally be seen. And Rome has places you want to go. The Suburra. You know it's there, the valley between the Esquiline and Viminal hills. During the regular year, you avoid it. It's loud, it's dirty, it smells like garlic and cheap wine and human waste. But tonight, that's exactly where you're headed. Because the Suburra is where the Lupinaria are, the she-wolf houses, named for the sound the women made to attract customers. And during Saturnalia, the Suburra stops being the place respectable men avoid and becomes the place wealthy men visit in disguise. You have money, let's be specific. You have 80 asses in your purse. You already know the baseline, 2 asses for the cheapest rooms, but you're not here for the basement. You want to know what money buys beyond that. The streets are packed, torches everywhere. Not the usual darkness of a Roman night, but thousands of candles. The sirai that everyone's been giving as gifts. The light is flickering, unstable, but it's light. You can see faces. You can see the prostitutes standing in doorways, some of them calling out. the wolf call, the promise. The smell of the sabura hits you first. Garlic from the food stalls, cheap wine from the taverns, popane, spilling out into the street. Underneath it, the bass note of every Roman slum, human waste, animal dung, the accumulated filth of too many people in too little space. During the regular year, this smell would mark the boundary of respectability. Tonight, it smells like permission. You pass a gambling den. Inside, you can hear the rattle of the dice cup, the fertilis. Men are shouting. Someone just threw the Venus, all different sides, showing on the 4 tally bones, the knuckle bones Romans used as dice. It's the highest throw, maybe a 1.5% probability. Lucky bastard. Gambling's illegal 11 months a year, but during Saturnalia, the law disappears. Everyone's betting. Slaves are playing with nuts. Citizens are playing with silver. Augustus himself was known to lose 20,000 sesterces in a single night during the festival. If the emperor can gamble away a fortune, so can you. But you keep walking. You're not here for dice. You're here for something more tangible. The first brothel you pass is the cheap one. You can smell it. Sweat, wine, the sour smell of too many bodies in too small a space. The doors open. Inside, you can see the stone beds with thin mattresses. The rooms are tiny, just enough space for the transaction. 2 asses, in and out. The graffiti on the walls outside lists names and prices. You keep moving. 3 streets deeper, you find what you're looking for. A better establishment, not luxury, but not desperate either. The doorway is cleaner. There's a Leno, a manager, who sees you coming. He reads your synthesis, the quality of the fabric, the way you carry yourself. His eyes do the calculation. You're not a 2 asses customer. Dominus, he says. Sir. Even during Saturnalia, money still buys deference. We have private rooms, your choice of companion for the evening. He leads you through a narrow corridor, oil lamps on the walls. The smell shifts, less sweat, more perfume. Something floral cutting through the musk. You can hear voices from the rooms you pass, laughter, conversation, the performance of intimacy. He stops at an open doorway. Inside, 3 women. The first is young, maybe 19. She's sitting on a wooden stool, and when she sees you, her eyes drop. New to this. Still uncomfortable with being evaluated, there's something appealing about the nervousness. The sense that you'd be her first real customer of the night. Maybe one of her first customers ever. The Leno catches you looking. Syrian, he says. 8 asses. Very eager to please. The second is older. 30, maybe 35. Dark hair pinned up, kohl around her eyes. She's been doing this long enough that she's already calculating. Your age, your money, what you probably want, how long it will take. When your eyes meet hers, she smiles. Professional, efficient, 12 asses, the Leno says. Experienced, knows what men like. The third is watching you with something that looks almost like curiosity. She hasn't smiled yet. She's leaning against the wall, arms crossed, studying you the way you might study a business proposition. Olive skin, a thin stola, a simple dress that moves when she breathes. She's not performing yet. She's deciding whether you're worth the performance. 15 asses, the Leno says. Private room, wine included. Her name is Melissa. You choose the third. You know why. It's not because she's the most beautiful. They're all beautiful in different ways. It's because she made you work for it. Because she didn't immediately perform desire. Because the transaction feels less like a transaction when the other person seems to be choosing you back. That's what 15 asses buys, not just access. The illusion of being selected. Melissa leads you down another corridor. The room is small but clean. A mattress on a wooden frame. A table with a jug of wine and 2 cups. An oil lamp casting soft shadows on the plastered walls. She closes the door behind you, and for a moment the noise of the sabura fades. Io Saturnalia, she says. Her voice is lower than you expected. She pours wine without asking, brings you the cup. When she hands it to you, her fingers brush yours, deliberate, light, unhurried. Where are you from? You tell her. She asks what you do. You tell her that too, some version of it anyway. She listens like it matters. She asks follow-up questions. She laughs at something you say, and the laugh sounds real, even though you know it probably isn't. You can smell her perfume now. Jasmine, maybe, something that survives the oil smoke and the wine. Her hand finds your shoulder, just resting there. Let's pause here. You know this is a performance. She knows you know. But the entire economy of this room is built on the agreement that you'll both pretend otherwise. The 15 asses bought you a private room, wine, and an hour of her time. But what you're actually paying for is the pretense, the illusion that this isn't a transaction, that she chose you, that her interest is real. She refills your wine, sits closer, her shoulder against yours now. She's telling you something about her life, a story about growing up near the coast, about the smell of salt air in the morning, a detail that makes her seem like a person and not a service. You're not sure if it's true, it doesn't matter. You're different, she says. Most men who come here, they're in a hurry. They don't want to talk. You know this is part of the script. You know she's probably said this to the man before you, and she'll say it to the man after. But it works anyway, because what she's really saying is, I see you. You're not like the others. You're special. And that's what you came here to feel. She shifts closer. The distance between you closes, not just physical, but something that feels startlingly like intimacy. What do you want? She asks. Not the transactional question, what service are you paying for? But something softer. What do you want from tonight? What would make you happy? And here's the thing about that question. It doesn't matter what you answer. What matters is that she asked, that she's pretending your desires are worth knowing, that for the length of this hour, in this small room with the oil lamp flickering, someone is interested in what you want. That's what the premium buys, not just the act, the feeling that precedes it, the slow build, the conversation that makes you feel interesting, the performance of genuine desire so convincing that you can almost forget the coins you handed to the Leno at the door. Later, you're walking back through the Sabora. It's deeper into the night now. The streets are more chaotic. Someone's vomited in a doorway. Two men are fighting over a dice game gone wrong. You pass another brothel, and through the open door, you can see a line of men waiting. The two asses' rooms, assembly line, in and out. And here's where I deliver on that promise. The graffiti on the walls outside this place, the cheap one you passed earlier, tells you exactly what men paid for, scratched into stone with prices next to each term. Fella, 2 asses. Feudit, 2 asses. The baseline, the bread and butter of Roman prostitution, if you'll forgive the expression. But then, the prices climb. Coolus, 8 asses. 4 times the base rate for a specific act, one that carried social stigma, even in a society with few sexual taboos. And Lingot, 16 asses, 8 times the baseline. The price tells you everything about the hierarchy of Roman desire, what was common, what was taboo, what cost extra because fewer women would agree to it, or because it took longer, or because it required a kind of intimacy that 2 asses couldn't buy. One piece of graffiti from Pompeii reads, Attica charges 16 asses. Next to it, someone scratched, I came here, I conquered, I went home. The Roman transaction, carved in stone, honest, direct. No performance of romance, just the exchange and the exit. You paid 15 asses for Melissa. The men in that line are paying 2. Same city, same night, same Saturnalia. But the experience you bought and the experience they're buying are not the same thing. Money doesn't just buy access. It buys the performance of dignity. You still have 65 asses left. You could go back. You could gamble. You could find the expensive places, the ones where 30, 40 asses buys you women trained not just in sex, but in conversation, music, poetry, the ones who make you feel not just desired, but impressive. Or you could go to the Sigillaria. The gift market opens during the last days of Saturnalia. It's probably in the Campus Martius, a massive temporary bazaar where vendors sell everything the holiday demands. You decide to see it. The market is overwhelming. Stalls packed tight, torchlight reflecting off silver and bronze. The noise is immense. Vendors shouting over each other, customers haggling, children running between the adults' legs. A vendor grabs your arm, clay figurines. the little sigilla the festival is named for. 2 asses each. Children's gifts, meant to be broken by spring. You shake him off. Next to him, a man selling candles, wax tapers bundled and stacked high. Everyone needs serai to give as gifts, to light the dark December nights, to call back the sun with sympathetic magic, 1 as each. You buy a bundle without thinking. It's expected. A woman is selling pastries shaped like animals, little pigs, because Saturn's sacrifice is a pig. The smell of honey and fried dough cuts through the cold air. 2 asses for a dozen. You take some. Eat one while you walk. The sugar and fat hit your tongue, and for a moment, this is all Saturnalia is. Sweetness in the dark, warmth against the cold. The simple pleasure of a thing you bought, because you could afford it, but you keep walking, and the goods get more expensive. A stall selling Corinthian bronze. A small vessel costs more than you make in a month. Another selling exotic fabrics, silk from the east, dyed in Tyrian purple that costs more per ounce than gold. And then, at the far end of the market where the torches burn brighter and guards stand at the entrance, the slave dealers. Yes, you can give a human being as a Saturnalia gift. The prices aren't posted if you have to ask. You can't afford it. But you know from conversation that a beautiful young slave, trained for household service and other duties, costs thousands of sesterces. That's not a gift for you. That's a gift from one senator to another. A status signal, a demonstration that you have so much money. You can give away a person as a holiday present. The poet Marshall wrote 2 entire books cataloging Saturnalia gifts, the Xenia and Apophorida. The range is staggering. At the bottom, toothpicks, sponges, beans, cheap wine. At the top, silver plate, exotic animals, human beings. The same holiday, the same tradition, the same gift-giving, but the gap between toothpicks and slaves tells you everything about what Saturnalia actually was. Not a suspension of economics, an intensification of it. Here's the dark irony that runs through all of this. Saturnalia was supposed to celebrate the golden age of Saturn, the mythical time before slavery, before private property, before anyone had to pay for anything. The festival officially reverses the master-slave relationship. Slaves wear the pileus. They dine with their masters. They're allowed to speak freely, to mock their owners. But this freedom is a gift from the master. It's not a right. It's a performance the master permits. When the festival ends on December 23rd, the slave goes back to being property. The inversion was never real. It was theater. The same logic applies to you, walking through the Subura with money in your purse. You're participating in a festival that's theoretically about freedom from economic transaction. The Golden Age didn't have money. Saturn's reign was supposed to be a time when the earth gave freely and no one had to buy anything. But the act of buying is what Saturnalia was really about. The gambling redistributed cash. The gift-giving drove consumer spending so heavy that Pliny complained about it. The brothels surged with customers. So why did a festival celebrating freedom become an economic frenzy? Because Rome never believed in the Golden Age. It was a myth, a story they told to make the iron reality of empire feel like a temporary condition, instead of the permanent structure it actually was. Saturnalia let Romans pretend that slavery, hierarchy, and transaction weren't the foundation of everything. It let them pretend that for 1 week the rules dissolved, but the pretending required enormous expense. You had to buy the synthesis, you had to buy the candles, you had to buy the gifts, you had to buy Melissa's time and attention, you had to buy the illusion. And the more you spent, the more convincing it became. The Golden Age wasn't free. It was the most expensive week of the year. You think about Christmas now, our version of Saturnalia. The gift-giving, the seasonal spending, the performance of generosity that requires a credit card. We've stripped it of Saturn and the pileus and the sacrifices, but we've kept the core function. A season where excess is permitted because the calendar says so. Where we buy our way into the feeling of abundance. The Romans were honest about what they were buying. The prices were scratched into the walls. We've gotten better at disguising the transaction, but the structure is the same. You pay for someone's time and attention. They perform interest. You both pretend the money isn't the point. The golden age never existed. Not in Saturn's mythical reign, not in the 7 days of Saturnalia, not in the Christmas season you're living through right now. But the dream of it, the idea that somewhere, somehow, there's a time when everything is free and everyone is equal, that dream is profitable. Because the dream is what you're actually buying. That's the most expensive illusion of all. And every December, for 2,000 years, we've been willing to pay for it. And if you enjoyed spending this evening with me, I share more behind-the-scenes moments on Instagram. You can find me at apetrova.xo. I'd love to see you there.